Jeffries and Matt Pangrak. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sonline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Wednesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another BTL Bass Talk Live, where I'm going to talk bass fishing and anything else that I want to talk about. Yes, I'm flying solo again today. Matthew, he is headed to Lake Amistad. He had a little truck issue yesterday, but got it worked out, and he is headed to Lake Amistad for Kurt Dove's Bass Camp, and he's going to spend the next, I believe, 3 days fishing with several high school kids and giving them some tips and having a blast. I think this is Kurt Dove's, I don't know, maybe 8th, 9th year that he's done this, and it's a great thing that he does for the high school kids down there at Lake Amistad, and a number of big-name pros take part in what Kurt has going on down in Del Rio, Texas. So that's where Matt is. He will be back on Monday, and then he is off to participate in his very first Bassmaster Central Open here in Oklahoma. It's going to take place at the river, and he's going to spend a few days practicing. I know we've talked a little bit about his experience on the river, not a whole lot, but I know he's done a tremendous amount of homework trying to get ready for that. And folks, June is the best time to fish the Arkansas River here in Oklahoma, going out of Muskogee, Oklahoma. And we'll see what he does. I mean, it's right up his game, Matt. You know, the thing that you guys may or may not understand when it comes to fishing, Matt is very versatile. He loves to flip. I think he saw what was going on when he had success down at Sam Rayburn. He flipped that whole tournament. This is going to be a frogging thing. It's going to be a flipping thing. And the dynamics of the river have changed due to the flood. So a lot of guys that might think they're going to be able to fish a little bit of history on the Arkansas River here in Oklahoma, things have changed because of the recent flooding. When I say recent, within the past 12 months, it has changed the characteristic of the Arkansas River. So can't wait to see that one, and we wish Matt nothing but the best. He will be here on Monday, and I believe on Monday we're going to have a guest from, and I don't know who it is yet, we're going to have a guest live from the heavy hitters down at the K-Chain in Florida. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, still trying to line stuff up because I'm not sure if Matt's going to be practicing or not. If Matt's practicing, then he'll be here in studio. If not, then I'll be flying solo. Or because Bradley Hallman, the guy that fills in for Matt every now and then, he's going to be fishing the Open also. So Bradley versus Matt versus everybody else. Once again, I am enormously intrigued on what's going to go down on the Arkansas River out of Muskogee, Oklahoma, here in Oklahoma over the next 7 to 10 days. All right, great show today. We're going to have Elite Series Pro KELLEY JAYE on, and I believe it's the first time that we've had Kelly on BTL. And folks, he's been doing this game for quite some time. And when I was doing some research on him, I found a couple of stories. One on Bassmaster.com. We're going to talk a little bit about his assessment of 2019. Then once again in 2020, he comes out of the gates with a very solid performance at the SJR with, I believe it was a 3rd place finish. So off to a great start. Did not fish in the Bassmaster Classic, but a tremendous amount of experience in the state of Alabama, in his home state. So I thought we'd pick his brain a little bit about what is going to go down on Lake Eufaula in Alabama here shortly as the Elite Series kicks things off. All right, I have not posted any of the instant feedback yet because I want everybody to look there. Yes, Matt and I, BTL, we have a physical address. Now it is 3260 Marshall Avenue, Norman, Oklahoma, and the zip code is 73072. So we've been working on that, and finally, the good folks at Blue Heron, we're gonna utilize some support from them, and we're gonna use their address. So if anything needs to come our way, please send it to that address right there, and Gary and Darren Cole, good folks there at Blue Heron, will make sure that we get anything that you send our way. The other thing is, I have received a tremendous amount of concepts and ideas for T-shirts and hoodies and all that. Keep them coming, folks. Some of them are really, really good. Others, it's still pretty good, but I think I laid down the groundwork. No fish, no angler. That's kind of the rules with me. Matt, he may look at it a different way. I look at it this way. You might be able to take some of the sayings from the shows, some of the dialogue between myself and Matt, but get creative. No fish, no angler in the logo, T-shirts, lettering, whatever you're doing. All right. But very, very excited to see what else the fans have out there from a T-shirt and hat standpoint. I know Matt, he's going to work very hard on getting that done. I think that's about it. Once again, I mentioned the deadline for the Apex Bass Games on BassZone.com is going to be June 14th, and we will kick that off by reaching out to two individuals who are going to battle it out for a little bit over $1,500 worth of prizes from Strike King and Lose. And we will be cutting the entries off at midnight on June 14th. So if you haven't entered that, please do. The last thing I want to mention, then we're going to go to our special guest. I have been working feverishly to get this iTunes podcasting app thing fixed. I believe we have it corrected now. I could put a print screen of what the dude sent me yesterday, that the problem has been corrected by the provider that we have that actually places our podcast replay on iTunes. Not having any issues with any of the others, Spotify, Google Podcast. It just seems to be an iTunes thing, but they're telling me they got it fixed. All right. And all the emails and the comments on some of the YouTube pages, I get it. I get the frustration, but I think the frustration is now over. Should be over. If it's not, please let me know, as I know you will. All right. Last thing we're going to do, I'm going to take some phone calls after we have Kelly on the Sonline hotline. That number, I'm going to flash it up on the screen after we talk to Kelly, but I'll give it to you right now. 405-253-5543. That is the Sonline hotline. I want to talk to you. We'll take a few phone calls after we talk to Kelly today, wrapping up the week. 3 shows this week. Tomorrow, got some stuff going on, obviously, with Matt being at camp. And then Friday, once again, folks, I'm going to Lake X. I'm going to Lake X every Friday until they stop biting. All right? Every Friday. And I know some people have tried to figure out where Lake X is here in Oklahoma. Some have found out. Others, you're not even close. All right? So keep guessing where Lake X is. Last Friday, just an unbelievable day. I mean, we had the opportunity, folks, myself and Steve Wunderlich, to catch 70 fish between us, between 2 and 5 pounds. No dinks. This place doesn't have dinks. I don't know what the deal is, but it does not have dinks. And guess how many times we saw a bass boat on Friday? 1 time. That's it. 1 time we saw a bass boat on Lake X. So continue to try to figure out where Lake X is. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to enjoy it every Friday until they stop biting. All right, let's do this. I think we have Kelly on here. Let's see if I can get him queued up. Kelly, you there, man?
Yes, man, I'm here.
All right, thanks. Let me get you queued up to where everybody can see you. Thanks for taking time out. And, dude, I was doing a little research on you and reading some stories, and I think the article that you did on Bassmaster.com was really, really good, how you kind of assess 2019. But here you are once again in great position. I know it's only one event, but it's kind of deja vu because you're off to a great start here in 2020.
Yeah. we went down to St. John's, and my first year on the Elite Series, or not first year, but we went down to St. John's the first time I went, and I finished like 80th or something, and that's the only lake really in Florida that kind of had my number. I've done typically well on Florida lakes, but the last couple of years, I think I finished 11th last year, and I led after the first day this year and ended up finishing third. So, but yeah, anytime you start the season off with third place finish, sets up pretty good.
All right. The title of the story on Bassmaster was Lessons Learned in 2009. And I just want to read a quick sentence from that article. It says, of course, experience is the best teacher. And after you've returned to a fishery a few times, you start to come out and cut out some of the obvious and most egregious errors. This doesn't mean we don't falter at times. But the key to a long career on the Elite Series is to learn from your mistakes. All right? And dude, you couldn't have said that better. And what I want to know is, what was the biggest factor that you learned from 2019 that you're going to try and apply to 2020?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is, you can't, it seems like every year it changes when we go to different fisheries. You may win it out deep. It may be one that's shallow the next year. But typically, you learn certain areas of the lake that we go to, and what to do, when you go back. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, and I'm just glad I started off with a third place finish. And, I typically do pretty well in Alabama lakes. So going to Eufaula, third in AOY points right now, couldn't set up any better, really.
All right, let's talk about Lake Eufaula, man. An enormous amount of success in the state of Oklahoma. What are your thoughts about the next event?
I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be dominated out deep, really. But I think the way the lake sets up, there's a lot more grass than what it's been in the past. And I think people can catch them shallow. You can catch them really however you want, the way that lake sets up. I think it will be one out deep, but I think any angler can fish to their strength. And the only thing that I think, there's a big tournament up there this week, and before we go, so it's going to get beat pretty hard. But on the Elite Series, these guys always catch them, so it's not really going to affect our weights that much, I don't believe.
All right, to that point, what is the effect when pressure is really part of the element on this lake?
It's going to be, pretty, I think when we go to a lake that's been pressured a lot, like we are when we go to Eufaula, you still have to figure out a way to catch them. But the most obvious places and techniques, the fish get educated, because not only is the tournament that week, but, they'll pre-fish that week, then they'll have a tournament, and then we'll pre-fish before our tournament. So it's going to affect it, a pretty good bit, I believe. So, but I still think, having said that, we always catch them. I don't care where we go. It's the best anglers in the world, and they're going to prove it again next week.
All right. Based upon what you said there, the deep pattern, is that really part of the best strength to your game? Do you like fishing deep? I know in the research that I've done, you seem very versatile, but what are your thoughts on fishing deep?
I can fish deep. You have to be able to do everything, whether it be catch fish off bed, fish deep, flip, you've got to be versatile, but it'll be, this tournament will be dominated, I think, deep, just because we've had a really, it's been warm for a while now. The way the temperature's been, I'm pretty sure the spawn's been over, for a long time. I don't even sure if we'll hit, I think we're past the shad spawn there. So, it usually hits around, late April. So, we're going to be past it. And, so I think all the fish should be out deep.
Kelly, it's been a long time since you've participated in a tournament. Have you done any small tournaments in Alabama? What have you done to keep your game dialed in?
Yeah, actually, I've it's funny you say that. Actually, I fished 2 tournaments in one day here on Martin. Me and a buddy of mine went. One tournament was on one end of the lake. They blasted off at 5, and then another tournament was on the other end of the lake. They blasted off at 6. So we went and fished paid our entry fee, and drove across the lake, paid that entry fee by water, and then we actually won one of them. One of them weighed in at 2, one of them weighed in at 3. We won one of them and finished 4th in the other one. So, but I've been fishing a lot here locally. Not as much as I'd like because I've been working a lot, but I've been fishing. You know, you got to keep fishing and keep your game. You know, keep your game face on. So, yeah, I hadn't just not done anything since St. John's.
All right, we've had several Elite Series guys on the show, and a stress point that I have made is the New York swing going back to back to back. The physicality just in those 3 events, especially if the wind's going to blow on any of those events, dude, it's going to be very, very physically demanding. What are your thoughts on the New York swing?
Man, that's going to be, you know, something else because I fished the Elite Series. This is my 8th year, I believe. And we've never fished 3 weeks in a row since I've been on the Elite Series. So fishing back to back to back is going to be, I mean, it's going to be a pretty grueling 3 weeks because when we fish, we practice, then we have a tournament, we practice, have a tournament. You know, I'm 47 years old, so I'm not a young buck anymore. So that's going to take its toll on me, I'm sure. Just the 2 weeks, whenever we fish back to back, you know, it's pretty grueling 2 weeks. So 3 weeks in a row is going to be something else.
You know, some people have classified you as a grinder, somebody that just goes out and really just does what is necessary to try and have success, grinding it out constantly. Just like you said, you've been in the Elite Series for a number of years. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you really try and mold your game as you've progressed through those 7-8 years to change up kind of your goals and objectives? Is it about going out and getting a check? Is it about qualifying for the Bassmaster Classic? I mean, what is that grind to you?
Well, it's you know, it's going to be a grind, no doubt. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to, I guess, the getting out there, you know, and doing what I have to do. I don't really want to cash checks. I want to try to win, you know, every tournament. If you go out there to try to win every tournament, you're going to do good if you don't win. If you go out there and, you know, it's kind of like a football analogy, I guess, or any other sport. If you go out and try to do the best you can do, you're not going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect, but you're going to be pretty dang good at what you do. So if you go out and just try to cash checks and catch a few fish or whatever, you're not going to be real successful. You have to go out and try to win every tournament. And then if you don't win, you'll still be successful at what you do.
Kelly, do you like tinkering with lures, or are you pretty standard when it comes to the arsenal that you have in your boat?
I change up my, you know, I throw a jerkbait a lot. So
Yeah.
I've tinker a lot with the hook size on my jerkbaits. Other than in top water lures, you know, I change my hooks around a little bit. But other than that, I mean,
Kelly, do you like tinkering?
Change a lot. So I guess hook size and line size would be the most I would, you know, I change around.
All right, we're going to get to some of the questions on the instant feedback. We'll take a break. Sorry for that little audio glitch there. I hit a That's what happens when you fly solo sometimes. You hit a wrong button, and I don't think people understand how difficult it is with Matt not here. Matt covers a lot of my mistakes, and I just made a mistake. So sorry about that, folks. All right, Kelly, you know, obviously you haven't made the Bassmaster Classic in recent years, and I know that is a goal and an objective for everybody. You're in a great position right now based upon your finish at the SJR. How would you classify this year, 2020 from a career standpoint? Is this, I don't want to call it make or break, but is this a very, very important season for you from a performance standpoint?
Yeah, it is really. I've had success. It seems like every year something happens and I mess up right at the AOY championship or at the end of the year and just barely miss the classic. When I first started on the Elite Series, I went, I think, 4 years, 3 or 4 years without making the top 10. And it really just driving me crazy, actually. And then, of course, then the last 3 years or 4 years, I made at least 2 top 10s every year and been on TV a couple times a year. So I've had success the last 4 years with top 10s, and it's just a matter of, I guess, staying, consistent and not messing it up at the end of the season.
How difficult or easy has the business side been of being in the Elite Series for so many years? I mean, it has to be a roller coaster ride, is it not?
Oh, it is, absolutely. And I don't fish. I fish. I own a business, electric motor business. I've had it for 20 years, and I have had success. Running my business and then fishing. I don't travel all over and pre-fish all the lakes. I go during official practice. I fish official practice, then I fish the tournament. I don't do, I'm not going all over pre-fishing, run all over the country and all that stuff. I got a business to run back home and a family, and so I just go fish the pre-fishing tournament. I mean practice, and then I fish the tournaments. So I guess if I had the time to and the capabilities where I could just go pre-fish and travel all over the country and do that, I might have more success. But my business supports my family, and that's my number one priority.
All right, makes sense. I mean, it's about making money, and sometimes people don't realize that, but it really truly is. You have to make money in whatever capacity you can, and I think it's kind of cool that there are a few guys out there that actually run businesses and do very well from a business standpoint and still compete at a high level from a tournament fishing standpoint. So I admire the fact of what you're doing and what you have done. But at the same time, to get that sponsorship business side of it dialed in, it has been a very, very challenging. Now with the COVID-19 situation, the time period that was off, you're one of the fortunate people that obviously you had your company to fall back upon. But going forward, what are your thoughts on the sponsorship environment and the sponsorship kind of criteria in moving forward into 2021?
As far as, I guess I don't understand the question.
Well, do you see it even more difficult now going forward into 2021 because of everything that you guys in the industry has been through due to the COVID-19 situation?
Yeah, this COVID-19 situation has really put a burden on just from a capacity of everybody's standpoint as far as businesses, fishing in general, the bait industries. I mean, it's really put our sponsors have really put, the pressure on us to do videos and stuff like that to kind of keep the fans involved in what we're doing as far as fishing and sponsorships and all that. But it's also, it's affected even my personal business some because plants shut down. We do a lot. We're strictly industrial stuff. So, this COVID-19 has affected everything, not just the fishing industry, but just all the businesses in general. And I'm looking forward to it. Everybody getting past this and getting over this COVID-19 and the industry and everything picking back up and getting back to normal.
All right, I want to go back to the jerkbaits, and we're going to take a break here just in a few minutes, and then we're going to get to a couple of questions from the instant feedback. What I want to know is there are so many people out there that are very, very, very good at throwing a jerkbait. Obviously, with your seasonality and just your being in this game for so long, I'm very curious if you have watched videos, if you've went back and watched YouTube videos or some of the tournament coverage of some of the guys that are renowned jerkbait fishermen.
Well, I've watched, I went back and watched a lot of videos, and as far as jerkbaits, that's a real, that's what I've had most of my success on. A lot of people think that's all I throw, but I love throwing top water, throwing jigs, flipping. I'm a little more versatile than what it appears, but I've had a lot of my top 10s have been throwing a jerkbait. So, that's what my confidence is in. If I can catch them, I want to catch 4 or 5 pounders, whatever the technique may be. So if it just happens to be a jerkbait, then that's what I'll throw. But, you've got to be versatile on the Elite Series or you will get your butt whooped. So I'm looking forward to, the next few tournaments, and even with us going into the fall like we are, fishing late this season where I'm looking forward to that because usually once it gets hot, you have to get out deep, cranking, whatever. But the way it sets up this year with this COVID-19 pushing our season back, I'm looking forward to I'll be able to throw a jerkbait all year this year, it looks like.
Yeah. I want to know, what is the most important part of fishing a jerkbait? Is it parts of the bait itself? Is it the hooks? Is it the line? In your opinion, what can you pass along to the fans being the most critical part of fishing a jerkbait?
Having the right equipment. You can throw a jerkbait, a lot of people think it's just a certain time of year, throw it in the winter, pre-spawn, but I throw it year round, and I've had success on it throwing it year round. My home lake's here on Lake Martin. We've got clear water, spotted bass, and we throw it all year here. You can catch them on, in the winter. You can catch them around docks, over brush. You don't have to just throw it pre-spawn and in the winter months. It's a versatile lure that you can catch fish all year on it.
How important is color when it comes to jerkbaits?
Man, it's pretty important. I just fished an ABT here, one-on-one here with me against Mark McKeag on Logan Martin. That's the first time I'd been on that lake in about 12 years. And I was fortunate enough to win, and he wins about everything up there on Logan Martin. But when we started out that morning, I threw a jerkbait and caught one on a white one, and the water was stained. And I said, man, they ought to hit that gold one here. So I put a gold one on, and I ended up catching like 6 fish and culling one, and he just had 1 fish. So color really makes a big difference. You wouldn't think it did, but it's just like any other lure in your arsenal, whether it be soft plastics or top water or crankbaits. Color makes a pretty big difference.
All right, let's do this, Kelly. Let's take a quick break. Then we're going to come back with a few questions from the instant feedback here on a Wednesday. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be back with Kelly Jaye.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, life-size transducer, or Structure Scan 3D, and get up to $500 cash back.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories, we're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
Hey everybody, Tide Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sonline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. Casts great, and it's small diameter, and just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sonline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sonline's SX1 30-pound braid.
All right, we are back on a Wednesday, closing out the week with our special guest, Mr. Kelly Jaye, Elite Series Pro. All right, it is time to go to the instant feedback. And Kelly, right off the bat, let's see here. Dave wants to know, why do you think Wheeler Lake gets such a bad rap?
Lake Wheeler, as far as bad rap, I don't think it really does. I mean, it's in North Alabama. I think we fished the Elite Series up there 3 years ago, maybe 4. And I think I finished 17th or 15th up there. We had a big shad spawn. I think I really like Lake Wheeler. I think it's pretty good. They've got some nice largemouth in it. It's got some big smallmouth in it. I actually had a mixed bag when we fished up there last time. It's just like any other lake. Certain times of the year are better than others. Every lake in the country fishes good in spring. But once it warms up and they get out deep, it's kind of tough to catch them anywhere. But I really like Lake Wheeler.
All right, I have a question. In Alabama, like here in Oklahoma and in the Midwest, September seems to be the most brutal month of the year. Is it the same way in Alabama when it comes to the month of September?
Oh, it is. It really is. I mean, by then, those fish are way out deep. And here on Lake, Lake Martin's my home lake. So once it gets that, we got a lot of boat pressure around here. That time of year you had a lot of, recreational boats, people skiing, jet skis. I mean, it really pushes those fish down deep. So, no, but late here in Alabama, I mean, it's the same way. It gets tough that time of year. And then in the fall, when the water temperature starts dropping, those fish know that, winter's coming. The shads start moving back up towards the surface and towards the bank, the back of the creeks. And then, the fishing picks back up.
All right, Rich in Connecticut wants to know, what's your favorite post-spawn jerkbait for smallmouth on Lake Champlain?
Well, I tell you, Berkeley Cutter is a real good jerkbait. There's several different ones that I like to use. I throw a Mega Bass a lot. I throw a old school Rogue a lot. The problem with it's really a bigger bait, and it doesn't really work. Those smallmouth really love small baits. But it's hard to beat anything on Lake Champlain in a perch pattern. I mean, you can't hardly beat it. So, because when you go up north, there's a lot of perch, and those fish really feed on them. So, anything in a perch pattern in like a 110 millimeter or something like that is hard to beat up north.
All right, speaking of Champlain, what are your thoughts on Ticonderoga? Is that something that you even consider, or is that totally out of the loop?
No, that's totally out of the loop for me. Just because that when you go there, it's kind of a it's largemouth fishing. I love catching smallmouth. Last time we went to Champlain, I actually led up to the last about 2 hours of the tournament, and I was tied on a spook. Later in the day, the water slicked off. I'd been catching them on a jerkbait all week, and that's the one actually Aaron Martins came back and won, where we had a complete top 50 field for the last day. But to answer your question, no, I love catching smallmouth. When we go up north, I don't care nothing about catching largemouth.
All right, there you have it. I kind of like that answer. All right, Jeff in Indiana wants to know, any advice for someone that struggles with a jerkbait and thinks that it's like this mythical lure?
The biggest thing you want to do with a jerkbait is you've got to have the right rod for the action. I throw a Veracity medium action rod with a fast tip, because you want that lure to dart underwater just like you would a spook on top of the water. You want that left to right action. The biggest mistake I see people make is they think you have to throw a crankbait rod or a real limber rod, and what happens is that rod loads up and you end up pulling your jerkbait instead of twitching it. So that's the biggest mistake I see is if you've got to have that action of that jerkbait, needs to be a left to right darting action.
All right, when it comes to the rod, what about the length of the rod?
I guess it's according to the person. I like 7 foot is what I use, or 6'10", somewhere in there. I see some people throw like really small, short rods.
Yeah.
I guess it's all, I guess it's all according to the person. Like me and Hank Cherry, we room together. We both love throwing jerk baits. He throws a little bit, his action, he jerks down on it, but he's a lot taller than I am. So I kind of have a side action. But like he throws a lighter rod than I throw, and then he was watching me on Bass Live at St. John's, and he was like, "Man, we throw it 2 totally different ways, but our lure does the same thing in the water." So I guess the biggest thing is you've got to have that left to right darting action, and to be successful with the jerkbait.
All right, there you have it. Taj wants to know, have you ever had any success with spy baits?
I have up north. I've caught them actually at St. Clair on a spy bait. Again, with that, you've got to have a limber spinning rod. I throw it on a spinning rod. And the most limber rod you can get, because the hooks aren't real big on a spy bait. And I haven't really caught them anywhere in the south on it. I've tried it here on Lake Martin because it sets up in the winter. The water's real clear here. But I've caught them up north on it, pretty good bit, and it's a fun bait to catch them on too.
All right, I want to go back to some of the old school jerk baits that you mentioned. Talked about some of the rogues and stuff. What is probably the most vintage jerk bait that you have used during a competition? I'm not talking recently, even going back to your early years as when you were fishing. Kind of an iconic type of jerk bait. What would you say that would be?
No doubt about it. I've won more money on this jerk bait than I have any lure in my arsenal. And it's an old school 5.5-inch Rogue that they don't even make anymore. It comes factory number 4 hooks. It's got it's a big bait with a wide wobble, and I have won a ton of money on that thing. Actually, the company that makes them, after my Gunnersville tournament, I talked with them, and they actually, there's like 3 or 4 Elite Series guys that started throwing them too. I actually gave them a couple, Micah Frazier, but the company that makes them actually pulled the mold out of production after the Gunnersville tournament where I did so good, ran 500 of them, and they sent me 100 actually about 2 months ago.
Wow. Painted up? They're not painted up, right?
No, they're clear, which is what I want. I mean, they send me 100 of them. They have no snap rings, no hooks, no paint, but that's the way I want them, because I have a guy here locally, Jason Shockley with Shots Custom Baits, and he paints all of them for me. So I could with that clear. I love throwing in clear water. I love throwing a clear jerk bait with like a greenish back, and so with it being clear like they are, man, the colors are unlimited what you can paint those things. So.
All right. Being a jerkbait guy, I'm just curious. Have you ever heard of Tim Hughes?
No, I hadn't.
You have. How much experience do you have on the Ozark Lakes? Because, jerkbaits are big time on the Ozark Lakes.
Well, I've had, when we go to Grand Lake, I've done, I've caught them out there on it. But other than that, like, I think that opens up here on the river you mentioned in the pre-show.
Yeah.
I've never fished that river.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as any Oklahoma lakes, Grand is where I've had success there on throwing a jerk bait. And I think Jason Christie throws that old school rogue up there actually.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that I've heard of that really threw that old school like I do.
There's a number of guys, Table Rock, Lake of the Ozarks too. I mean, the Tim Hughes is probably one of the most iconic painters of rogues here in the Midwest when it comes to the Ozark region, and kind of got started specifically on jerkbaits. I mean, that used to be, and still is, a very, very high demand product when it comes to jerkbaits. All right, back to the instant feedback. Bryce in Illinois wants to know, when you struggle in a tournament, how do you pick yourself back up and start to settle yourself down instead of spinning out?
Well, when you start struggling, to me, you've got to go back to what you have confidence in. If you can't listen to doc talk and what everybody's doing, you've got to go back to just catching fish, slowing down. Like we go to a lot of lakes, and I just say Kentucky Lake. You can't. I went up there, and everybody's catching them out deep on big swim baits or big crank baits and all this stuff, and I picked up a drop shot and had a top 20 finish. Last time we were there. No, actually, last time we were there, I caught him on a jerk bait and finished third. But time before that, I caught him on a drop shot. So you've got to go to what you have confidence in, because if you're doing something that you not have confidence in, that you think everybody else is catching them on, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you've got to slow down, don't spin out, and just relax, basically, not get too wound up. Just concentrate on catching one at a time.
I like that. All right. I didn't look it up. Are you fishing the opens?
No, I'm not. I actually hadn't fished the open in 3 or 4 years now. I just hadn't. The way they spread out when they went to 2 divisions, they kind of spread them out pretty good, and there's 4 of them. In the Elite Series, like I said earlier, I run a business back home, and I like being home with my family. And when we had a 9 tournaments and an AOY championship, the last couple of years, that was plenty for me.
All right. Expectations for the remainder of the season, Kelly, it seems like they've got to be very high, especially with the New York swing. Have you set a goal for yourself for the remainder of the year? And really, what are your expectations for the remainder of the year?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I have every year, it seems like I've started out good, and it's all my classic. Man, that classic has eluded me. I have no idea what the deal is with that. But hopefully, every year at the end of the year, it seems like I'm right on that classic bubble, and somehow I screw it up. So I'm looking forward to this year to not even having to worry about it, to being, top 10 in the points or even the LOY, championship. I'm in perfect position right now, the third place finish, to have a strong season.
Yeah.
With only 7 tournaments remaining, 3 of them being up north, 1 of them being here on Eufaula, an hour from my house. So I'm in perfect position to have a strong season, and I just hope I can finish it out.
All right, 80 pounds to win at Eufaula. Is that too much?
I think it's too much, actually. It's going to be a postponed deal or a ledge deal. I fished a FLW tournament there, I think 6-7 years ago, and we're about a week. I think we're 2 weeks off from when we fished that one. And I had a top, I think I finished 6th or 7th, and I caught them on a jerkbait there targeting postponed fish. So I think that would be a really good number probably, but with the tournament being before us, it's going to affect our weights a little bit. I'm thinking 75 pounds probably.
All right, can't wait to see it. I know it's it's been a long time to see you guys on the water. So very, very excited for you guys to get back into it and the fans can follow it. But, Kelly, things set up really, really good for you. I wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully this will be the year that you finally make it to the Classic.
I hope so, and I would like to throw this out there. I don't know. We just got an email yesterday with all the sports, everything showing on ESPN, showing classics and sports classics and stuff. This tournament actually is going to be on ESPN Live. So if everybody wants to tune in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on ESPN Live, they're going to have live stream of our fishing tournament on ESPN, which is pretty dang cool.
That is cool. Yeah, that is very, very cool. So kudos to Bass and ESPN for doing that, trying to give the exposure that this game deserves. And can't wait to see that. Can't wait to see what the feedback is on that, too. This is a good time with nothing going on. You're going to get a lot of people watching that may not have watched professional fishing before. So great stuff, Kelly, man. Thanks for being on the show. We'll get you back on, and we wish you nothing but the best for the remainder of the season.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm a big fan of Bass Talk Live, and watch your shows and podcasts, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right, man. Best of luck to you. Be safe. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there you have it, folks. Kelly Jaye. And, hey, you want to learn how to throw a jerkbait? Watch Kelly Jaye, because he's really, really, really good at it. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. The phone number, 405-253-5543. I want to take a couple of phone calls. I'm going to give away a Sonline package for the Sonline hotline. How about that? All right, I'm going to pick random call. Give me a call on the Sonline hotline, and we're going to send to you a Sonline package for calling in to BTL in this abbreviated Sonline hotline show. So we're going to take a break, come back, hopefully with some phone calls. Everybody stay tuned right here on a Wednesday.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks. Why? Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a great for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, you know, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, I am back, closing out the show here on a Wednesday. Once again, I want to thank Kelly Jay for taking the time out. Man's trying to run a business, fish the Elite Series, and he is a busy, busy man. But it's kind of cool to see guys that actually have full-fledged businesses try and be professional anglers at the same time. I'm sure everybody knows Gary Klaus, you know, Phoenix Boats, everything that he does with his company, and then fishing the Elite Series. And so many other guys out there that actually have other revenue streams besides what they earn fishing professionally. All right, the phone lines are open once again, 405-253-5543. The first person to call me, I'm just going to do that. The first person to call the Sonline hotline is going to get a Sonline hotline line package, of which will not be shipped to me. It's going to be shipped directly to you as soon as you give me your ship to information, and we will hook you up with some Sonline. A couple other notes real quick. I noticed there was a press release that came out that Toyota is going to be the title sponsor of the Heavy Hitters. So Toyota obviously involved in all levels of fishing, and with the bonus bucks program and all that, trying to do what they can. I know I saw some data on the number of trucks that were sold during the COVID-19 period, and there actually was a pretty substantial drop, but it wasn't as bad as a lot of the people in the industry, in the automotive industry, thought. And Toyota somewhat had a decent quarter with taking into consideration the COVID-19 situation. The other thing was, and that was news to me, I looked real quick during the break to see if I could find any information on ESPN going live with the Lake Eufaula tournament for the Elite Series. I could not. We'll try and touch on that on Monday, but how cool is that? That's that's very, very cool with technology and the way that you can capture the feeds from the live streams. They can actually take those feeds and feed it through the television aspect of it through the satellite and distribute what is taking place and what we're seeing on Bassmaster's live stream on the web. They can actually take that signal because they're streaming it at such a high level of resolution that they're able to just capture that stream and throw it right into the broadcast on ESPN. So very, very cool stuff there. Let's see here. In case you didn't see it, I had a couple people that were asking about some of the procedures and guidelines from a COVID-19 standpoint that the organizations are taking. And there have been several information packets sent out. I actually have one right here that FLW sent out. There's also one that Bass sent out for the Elite Series guys, kind of giving the guidelines on what's going down from a COVID-19 prevention and doing everything to not only protect the anglers, but also protect the staff. And I'm not sure what the fan situation is. All right. I don't know that. I didn't have time to check it out. So I do not know off the top of my head. I didn't do my homework on that to see what the fan perspective is for these events. I don't want to assume anything. So my recommendation is if you're in the area, please check out the websites of the organizations to see if they are going to allow people to be at the weigh-ins or what other gatherings these organizations are having. Obviously, if you're watching on the water, they're not going to do anything about that. And from a fan perspective, as long as you keep your distance, that's probably the coolest way to see what's taking place, especially if you're trying to learn. I mean, I have spent years and years and years and years on the water covering these guys, and it's amazing to me how respectful that the vast majority of fans are when they're watching the anglers on the water. Do you have an exception every now and then? Yes. But what's awesome is a lot of times the fans actually get on the person or persons that are not doing what they're supposed to do when they're watching these guys on the water. So best way to take it in, and we'll see. I just don't know from a fan perspective right now what the situation is on whether or not they are going to have fans, not have fans. I just didn't look it up, so I apologize. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's see here. Hey, who is this?
This is Mike in North Carolina.
Mike, how you doing today, man? What's on your mind?
I'm doing great. What's on my mind? I'm a BFL fisherman. I love what MLF has done with for the BFLs. But I got a couple predictions about the upper levels. With what's happened in the economy and everything going on, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bass Pro Tour having to go to entry fees and even possibly having to go to the 5-fish limit so that they don't have to have referees. It's just, I just don't see where companies are going to spend the bucks on fishing to, make that, the model that they're trying to do work. I mean, I know that the owners of MLF can probably make it work, especially the majority owner that owns all the media companies. But guys don't like to do things that cause them to lose money for an extended period of time. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen. And I know in the beginning of FLW there was a lot of different things that they tried to do that they eventually did away with, and eventually went to the standard format that all other tournaments were using. So that's my thoughts and predictions.
All right, let me add just one thing to it. I think you're referring to Stan Kroenke, the icon.
Yes, Stan Kroenke. Yeah, the name was escaping me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, think about this. All right, the man makes the majority of his revenue. Obviously, he's diversified in many ways, but he makes a chunk of his revenue and his money based upon professional sports teams. The Nuggets, the Colorado Avalanche, the LA Rams. He's building that monstrosity of a stadium in Los Angeles. All right. Where have these revenue streams gone? They're gone. They're non-existent.
Absolutely.
Okay. So KSE, think about the amount of revenue that they are not pushing through their books right now because of the situation in professional sports. That's going to have a huge impact. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is there are some businesses in the fishing industry that have thrived during the COVID-19 situation. The vast majority of them have really, really struggled. All right. Are there pockets? Are there pockets of the country and pockets of the industry where companies have done extremely well? Yes, no doubt about it. But at the same time, how much of that revenue is going to translate to supporting multiple organizations in 2021? That's the biggest question.
I just don't see it. I mean, we kind of went through this before, where an economic downturn caused a major hardship on the sport, and this is worse. I mean, this is worse than when you had Boyd Duckett on. He said it himself. It's tougher because all these companies are leveraged. You know, they saw these opportunities coming their way, you know, at the beginning of 2020, and they were leveraged and they put all this cash out there, and then all of a sudden it's all cut off. It's a worse situation than what we were in 2009. I just, you know, I think you make some valid points there, and I'm, you know, like I said, I'm a BFL angler, and I love what MLF has done with SLW as far as the BFLs go, but we're going to be lucky just to keep $200 entry fees in this, and I can't see BPT pros being able to not have to pay to play eventually with this whole thing.
You know, honestly, Mike,
that's the way.
It's going to be up to the pros. It's going to be up to the BPT players. If they, you know, vote and come together and say, you know what, guys, here's the situation. We're going to have to go to entry fees. And my take from a lot of the guys, I would say, and I don't know the exact number, obviously, but I would say that there is a pretty good number of guys that would be willing to do that. Now, once again, you go to the additional revenue that's added to the prize fund due to entry fees. But at the same time, how many companies that they currently have involved are going to remain in 2021? And I don't think anybody really knows that right now.
Right.
So you got to have the revenue somewhere. So if they're really wanting to continue with the momentum that they have from a payback standpoint, the money's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't know where it's coming from. You know.
I mean, the Evinrude situation, we haven't even mentioned that, you know, during the call, but the Evinrude situation is hugely impactful on this industry in so many aspects, not just tournament fishing either. All right, the people that are out jobs, the consolidation that's taken place. What about the customers that have bought Evinrude within the past 12 to 24 months? What do you think they're thinking right now?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the promise is out there that the warranties will be honored and everything, but I mean,
who's going to fix them?
Story after story with who's going to fix them? And I mean, it's a mess.
Well, I think this is going to be, and people will laugh at me for saying this, but this is going to be a situation where there are two elements that are going to rise to the top when it comes to sponsorships. Okay? The first one is relationships. And what have found in being in this industry for so long, so many deals in this industry get done simply based upon relationships. It's a fact, okay? It doesn't matter what you throw up on a PowerPoint presentation or what videos that you make or any of that. In certain situations, it's solely based upon the relationship that you have with individuals at that company, right? The second thing, which might pull maybe a little bit from that relationship situation, is the bottom line dollars. Because now what typically happens when revenue streams start to decrease? The first thing that gets pulled is your marketing budget or your media budget.
Right.
All right. So now, where are they going to get the most value, the most bang for their buck when it comes to marketing? I'm not saying that companies aren't going to continue to marketing. That is a essential part of any business, especially businesses in this industry. But now the decision has to be made. Limited. Yeah, the decisions have to be made. Okay, where are we going to spend our money at? And I think a lot of that comes back to the relationships that have been established in this industry over the number of years that people have been involved. Well, you take that and you combine it with basically what return am I getting from the marketing dollars that I'm spending, and that's how decisions are going to be made. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. But regardless of how good the relationship is, if the money isn't there, the money isn't there. And if you have Scott Martin and Brian Thrift scrambling for a motor deal, but what does that say for the rest of the field? When those guys are scrambling for a motor deal.
I mean, let's be. That's a great point, and I hate to interrupt you, but think about this. Let's just use Mercury for an example. What do? Do you let go, say, 5 lower-tiered guys that might be getting no revenue or no income, but they're getting a motor, or maybe they're getting 2 motors? Do you let 5 guys go to sign a Scott Martin?
I think you have to. I think you have to as a business decision. I mean, if you have the choice between having Scott Martin represent you and having 5 guys that aren't household names, I mean, you have to do what feeds your bottom line.
I am fascinated from a business standpoint on what is going to happen in 2021. From an angler standpoint, from a tournament organization standpoint. I mean, heck, even from my standpoint, we've been very, very lucky and fortunate that there hasn't been a single company that is associated with BTL call me or send me an email and go, hey, dude, we're done. Now, could it happen between now and then? Most of the posturing, and I'm using that word very, very lightly, the posturing takes place at ICAST. Well, there is no ICAST this year. So the posturing has already started in positioning, hey, what are we going to do in 2021? Well, there's so much unknown from a revenue standpoint because of the state of, unemployment rates, cost. Are they going up? Are they going down? There's just so much unknown right now that people are going to have to make very, very educated decisions based upon the data that they have, which may not be that much because there's so much unknown.
Right.
Am I totally on an island on that one, or am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I even think of my own personal situation. My income this year has not been negatively affected, or luckily. I've been a rare, fortunate exception, but I fully expect that either in the fall or come 2021, just with my own income situation, I may have a hard time making boat payments. There's so much uncertainty on all of us, and these businesses in the fishing industry, or the ones that are thinking about supporting the fishing industry, they can't. You know how it is. You never want to be in that uncertain situation and stick your neck out there in the worst of times. And so it's the instinct is to buckle up and tighten up and get through it. And that's where a lot of dollars are going to dry up.
Yeah, let me ask you this. It's great, and I appreciate the phone call, but you being a BFL angler, that is kind of, you take the BFL anglers, you take the nation anglers, even the open guys. Because as Matt has said on this show, the opens, hey, if you want to, pay your money, boom, you're in. Right? Not the way it used to be, but in the grand scheme of things, that's the realization of if you want to fish the opens and you can get in and there's not a waiting list, boom, pay your money, you're in. From that aspect, are you going to set a priority to continue fishing the BFL level and support what you're trying to accomplish from a tournament standpoint?
Yeah, well, the way I approach the BFLs and fishing in general is I want to do what I decide to fish is basically based on what can I do at the highest level I can, where I can basically guarantee myself that I can afford to feed my fishing habit. So, if putting out a $200 entry fee or even a $300 entry fee, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 times a year, that's doable. But putting out a $1,500 entry fee 3 or 4 times a year, I can't guarantee myself that plus the expense of all the other things is going to pay off. So for me, I have to have a lot of disposable income that I have at the ready to be able to put in something at the higher level, as opposed to the BFL. So really, the uncertainty keeps me in the BFLs and things like that, and hoping to capitalize on that, particularly given that you have these no entry fee events like the regionals, and ultimately, hopefully, the All-American and things like that. So,
all right, well,
that's where I'm at.
That's some great insight. Look, I'll say this: I have talked about it on the show. I believe it was Monday, about how empty the shelves were in retail outlets, and I received multiple emails from people that they are dealing with the same situation, where they walk into an Academy or a Walmart or a Bass Pro, wherever, and the shelves are bare. So from a fishing tackle standpoint, the sales have been off the chart. Bass boat sales, not the same way. Motor sales, not the same way. Now, are they selling boats and motors and high ticket items? Yes, but I think the reality really hasn't set in yet. And what I mean by that is, I think people think that everything's just going to go back to the way that it was. Well, let me say this, and I have said this on this show multiple times. There are so many aspects of this industry that are surviving based upon one thing, and that is debt. And if you can't service that debt that you have created, that's when it becomes an issue.
Absolutely.
So we'll see.
And it's in everything. It's not just the fishing industry. It's in everything. Restaurants, bars. If you don't have that cash flow, you have to shut your doors forever.
Yeah.
And then once you shut your doors forever, how do you go to a bank and restart a year later or 2 years later? You've already proved that you can't keep it going. So it wrecks you, not just for the time being. It wrecks you for the distant future potentially as well.
Listen, there are some very, very smart and intelligent people in this industry. When it comes to the bass boat manufacturers and the engine companies and a lot of the high-ticket items, even with your small-ticket items, there are some extremely intelligent people in this industry. And I think because of that factor right there, that we will get through this. All right? But will there be damage getting to the point that the industry needs to get to? Absolutely. But I think that this is where you see the intelligence and the experience of having been through something, not exactly like this, but very similar, that they know from experience. It's kind of like what Kelly Jay said from a fishing standpoint. You learn from your experience. Yes, we've never seen anything like this before, but on the water, if you go out and you don't realize that there's a deep bite, even though you're trying to force feed them a jerkbait, and they're not biting the jerkbait, you have to be willing to adjust to have success. Well, it's the same thing in this industry right now. Because of the conditions and because of the situations that they are dealing with, these highly intelligent, well-experienced business people in this industry are going to get us through it. They're going to make good decisions, and they are going to get through this. Okay? The suffering is going to come from the people that make really, really bad decisions. Right? Is it not the same thing when it comes to tournament fishing? The guys that make the worst decisions are the guys that are not successful. And Jim in Indiana made a post on the instant feedback. When it comes to the pros on tour, as I say, all you need to do is catch them. Well, if there's ever been a time where these guys truly need to catch them, it's right now.
Right.
It's right now. I think about all the money. And I'm not getting into this division between MLF and bass. The fact of the matter is these guys on the BPT are fishing for a ton of money on the heavy hitters. All right?
Yep.
The fact of the matter is the guys on the Elite Series still have the exact number of events that they planned to have the opportunity to win $100,000. All right? You got to go out and perform now. And I think the guys that go out and perform and reap the benefits from a revenue standpoint, those are the ones that are going to be able to be positioned when it comes to the sponsorships in 2021. Look, I know YouTube's important. I know social media is important. But I still think that the intelligent people that are involved in this industry understand the meaning of what it means to perform and showcase the products at a successful level when it comes to winning and losing.
Right. And interesting, I think it's interesting to watch the FLW events like the one that Jacob Wheeler just won, and when you see that mix of BPT pros in there with the FLW series guys, you know, people like Jacob Wheeler, they show you exactly why they make the money that they do. You know, and I personally I like it in BFLs when pros show up and fish our BFLs. I like seeing. Of course, we have a lot of anglers from the Carolinas here. You know, Brian Thrift, just to name one of them, but many others who, you know, fish. They fish a lot. They don't just fish at the highest levels. They fish the Toyota series, and they fish the Opens, and they fish, you know, all these different things. And they'll fish on Thursday night, you know, and they'll fish on, you know, and no matter what level they're fishing at, I mean, they show you exactly why they have millions of dollars to their total in tournament fishing, and these businessmen, like you said, they're going to show why also. You know, I think, but there's going to be huge casualties. I think there's going to be huge casualties. So people that just don't have the experience how to navigate this business-wise, and there's going to be big casualties as far as anglers who, you know, I wonder how many guys will be able to afford to be pro anglers after this year.
Yeah,
that's a big question.
You make some great points. You know, there was another podcast out there, and I listened to them. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit, I want to know what everybody else is doing and what they're saying. It's part of my responsibility as this being my full-time gig compared to other people. All right. But there was a comment, and I'm going to quote, and he was referring to the BPT anglers, and I'm going to quote, they're going to get their brains beat in. Unquote. All right. Now let me kind of analyze that quote right there. All right, let's just look back at what happened at the recent event of which Jacob Wheeler won. As I mentioned on the show Monday, there were 2 MLF players that did not make a check. One, I was totally shocked, being Tim Horton. And 2 was Michael Neal, which is shocking.
Oh, man. Yeah.
All right. But I will bet you a dozen donuts right now that if people out there seriously think that the BPT guys that are fishing this are going to get their brains beat in, you are out of your mind.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you want to say I'm out of my mind, go ahead. But there's no way
I agree.
that those guys that are fishing there are not going to be in the thick of things. Like I said, the Tim Horton thing, totally shocked. All right. Are there going to be some guys that are not going to be successful? Here's the situation with that. They're not fishing for points. Okay. They're fishing for one thing. What is that, Mike?
To win.
To win and make money.
Money.
That's it.
Yep.
All right. So the only way that they are going to, quote, get their brains beat in is if they absolutely do something that they found in practice, and they're going to stick with that because they think that they can go out and catch 85, 90 pounds or whatever the number is.
Right. It'd be interesting to talk to Michael Neal and find out what happened, or to Tim Horton, find out, like what their strategy was and how they ended up the way they were, because I'm guessing it was probably something like what you just said, where they felt like this is what I have to do to end up in the top 5. And if I can't end up in the top 5, then so be it. But this is what I have to do. And they went and they did it, and it didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, look who just won.
Interesting conversation.
Look who just won. Jacob Wheeler won.
Yeah.
I don't think he got his brains beat in.
No.
So yeah, I was really kind of not shocked, but just surprised by that comment. All right. Could there be some guys that struggle a little bit? Yeah, but I think it's because of the reasoning behind they are there to make money. All right. 53 of them or whatever the number is. Half the field. I don't know. I think it's 53 is what the number is. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Challenging times ahead for all parties involved in this game. And 2021 is just going to be off the charts from an intriguement standpoint, both from a business standpoint and from a fishing standpoint. You take Kelly Jay, who we had on the show today. One of the few guys out there, he's got a pretty doggone good revenue stream coming in from his business, even though, he was slightly affected and maybe majorly affected by the COVID-19 situation. But at the same time, he still has that revenue stream coming in from his business. How many guys are going to be able to survive going into 2021 from an Elite Series standpoint, even from an MLF standpoint, from an FLW Tour standpoint, where those situation takes place, where the cuts happen, the revenue goes away, you only made $12,000 last year. How are you going to survive?
Yeah.
That's getting your brains beat in right there. Mike, that's getting your brains beat in.
Yep. And in addition to that, there's guys out there who have an additional income stream, like a Kelly Jay, where that additional income stream that they have back at home is not going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the instant feedback. A lot of people want to know what's the status of the MPFL. I don't know. I'll try and find out, whether or not the COVID-19 situation has affected that. I will give him a call and see what feedback I can get from him as to what they are doing and what they're moving toward when it comes to 2021. There was another comment that, and I'm trying to find it here, weed through them. If they do go to an entry fee format for the BPT, will guys be able to get out of their contract, the 3-year deal? Well, I mean, you're 2 years vested already. If you haven't got out now, why would you not fish that 3rd year knowing that you're still going to have an opportunity to win money and win a lot of money, but at the same time, are you in a position to where you can afford that entry fee now based upon the decision? Dude, that is a slippery slope of which a topic of conversation will develop that will last for a long, long time. This is not what I signed up for. I can hear Matt right now. This is not what I signed up for. I signed up to fish 3 years with no entry fees, blah, 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 blah. It's a valid point. It is a valid point. Do you give me the option now, hey, I went 2 years with you. I don't want to pay entry fees. Can I leave? And if that does happen, then who comes in? See, that's what I'm talking about, how 2021 is going to be so intriguing from a media perspective, from a fan perspective, to see what happens and see what decisions are made by the powers that be. And you know, if that scenario happens, you know, then the question is, well, where are you going to go? Because you know, bass has to be facing these challenges as well. I mean, everybody is. They're all facing these challenges, and what are they going to have to do with their anglers? And then add to it how the seasons have changed. We don't know what will transpire after this season that goes into the fall, which I think is really cool. I've wanted tournament fishing to be I've yearned for years to see, why can't we have 10 months of tournaments, like a professional event every month? You know, I would love to see that. I think it'd be great to see what other techniques, you know, will be developed, whether tackle will be developed, you know, all these kinds of scenarios. Will this translate into something that perhaps expands the sport beyond that traditional February to, you know, July time frame? And I mean, it's just, there's going to be lots to talk about on BTL, that's for sure. Yes, there is. So I just, like I said, there are very, very smart people out there that are going to be doing everything that they can in all organizations, in the companies that are involved in this industry, to get their people, get their employees, get the fans, get the customers through this. And you're right, there will be casualties, but I think that from experience and intelligence, the right companies are going to survive this thing. All right?
Yeah, they always do.
Yeah,
they always do, and you never know which new one. There will probably be some new ones that emerge in the out of the wreckage as well.
Yeah.
And don't forget that Forrest Elwood's factory burned down very early on into the building of Ranger boats, and he survived it and went on to create the best bass boat company in the world.
Yeah.
So,
hey man, how cool is it that we can do what we do right now? Have you call in, give us your thoughts. Have the platform that Matt and I have on BTL to be able to share knowledge, experience, to be able to share opinions of the fans, to be able to share moments, to educate, engage, and entertain the fans out there. I am so thankful for this opportunity and to be able to do what I do and be able to talk to people like you, Mike. I cherish it. Yeah, I'm an old, cranky old man every now and then, but believe me, I appreciate what everybody in this industry is putting into it to try and survive, because in some aspects we are in survival mode right now. We really are.
Yeah, and I do too, and so what makes fishing, one of the things that makes fishing different from other professional sports is it's that sport where the fan, the professional, the participant, the media, they all get that connection closer together than what you'll ever see in any other sport.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna see the fan get to call up ESPN and talk to LeBron James or Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And fishing is different that way. There is that connection of all the entities that bring it together, that I think, really make it the sport that can belong to every person.
That's a great point, Mike. On the instant feedback, Matt in Alabama says, Mark, how much competition will start to surface between the anglers and the tournament organizations for sponsorship dollars? Hey, that's happening right now, and it's been happening. It's going to get worse. You think about all the guys that lost Evinrude deals. Where are they going to get that money at? Well, now throw their name in the pool of competitive sponsorship capturing, whatever you want to call it. All right? It is going to be survival mode for so many guys.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. Great phone call, Mike. I appreciate your input. You kind of co-hosted for Matt, except I didn't chew you out or scream or yell at you.
Anytime. I'm a school teacher, and Matt calls in sick. I'll be here for the next 2 months.
More power to you. What do you teach?
I teach American history, and I teach civics and economics.
Very nice. So have you been listening to the show? Any idea what I teach?
Yeah.
All right. Finance, economics, and media. And I got to tell you, I mentioned it yesterday. We finally got clearance to get back into the gym for the basketball team that I coach for our summer workouts. And it was really, really nice. So we had full crew, maximum 15 players, both varsity 15, JV 15. And it was so refreshing to be able to get back in the gym and actually start to work out a little bit. Can't go up and down 5-on-5 or anything like that due to the restrictions, but got some great drills in. And I'm really curious right now in North Carolina, are you guys planning right now to go back to the classroom in a classroom environment, or are you going to delay the start of school, or are you going to continue with online teaching?
Well, that's really up in the air. Interestingly, they actually moved the start of the school year. They actually moved it earlier 1 week. I guess with there was never really a rationale given as to why. But we don't know. We have to be prepared for online learning, at least initially, especially at the high school level.
Yeah.
But we just have to really be prepared for anything. It's so up in the air.
Yeah, same way here, man. Same way here. All right, last question, and then I'll let you go. When's your next BFL?
On June 13th, High Rock Lake. Actually, back-to-back High Rock Lake. 14th is a makeup for a tournament that had to be postponed from April. So really, really looking forward to getting back into the game again.
All right, man. Email me your mailing address, and I will get you hooked up with a Sonline package straight from Sonline North America. So greatly appreciate you kind of pitch hitting for Matt there. We went a long segment there.
It's all right. What's the email, Mark?
Mark@basszone.com.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, you got it. All right, man. Take care.
You too.
All right, there you have it. Mike in North Carolina. Great phone call, and I know it was kind of spur of the moment there for the Sonline hotline, but great phone call. And yeah, I have an opinion, and I think I've been in the industry long enough to have an opinion. I don't think I'm throwing stuff out there that is just totally off in left field, but hey, if you think it is, that's awesome, and I want to hear from you. Keep the stuff coming in. Keep the feedback coming, folks. And as always, cannot thank every single fan out there enough for being a part of the BTL platform. Matt will be back on Monday. Hopefully, he will teach those kids how to do everything that Matthew knows how to do. Pass along his knowledge on the water. And then a big week for him as he prepares for the Central Open on the Arkansas River here in Muskogee, Oklahoma. All right, that's it, folks. No show tomorrow. I am off to Lake X on Friday. Hopefully, I will have pictures this time for the show. I haven't taken a single picture because it's been fish catch, fish catch, fish catch, fish catch. It has been unreal. So hopefully I will try and get some pictures. I'm taking a guy I haven't fished with for a long time to Lake X. So everybody out there, be safe. Enjoy an opportunity to get on the water. And by the way, if you're going to be a fan on the water, just stay back, give them plenty of room. It's cool to kind of follow one guy if you want to do that, and they will kind of notice. Some guys notice that they've got fans following them. But biggest key, keep your distance and enjoy watching some of the best anglers in the world. All right, that's it, everybody. I am out of here. Matt, back on Monday.